Welcome to Simplify to Scale, a show dedicated to helping you scale a high impact and high profit business that you love without all of the complexity and chaos that can keep you trapped in the day-to-day. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and with decades of scaling experience, I know what actually works and what's just hype. So if you are done with all of the one-size-fits-all scaling advice and all of the overnight success promises, and instead you want proven practical strategies that will help you simplify operations, elevate your leadership, amplify profits, and scale sustainably, let's dive in and get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Simplify to Scale show. For those of you listening who love the idea of scaling and probably listen to me every week because I talk about scaling all the time, but do not necessarily want a large team and do not want a lot of the things that most people think you have to have in order to scale, you are going to love today's conversation because I am joined by Pia Silva, who is someone I feel so fortunate to have met recently. I feel like we could have far too much fun together, and we're going to do that on today's episode. But her master skill set is all about helping you scale solo. And she has a new book coming out soon on this topic as well. So we're going to dive deeper into what it looks like if you do want to scale, you want scalable results, but you do not want some of the complexities and some of the headache and all the things that go along with scaling your business. So Pia, welcome. I'm so excited you're here.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me, Krista. It is my pleasure.
All right. So tell everyone just a little bit about you and your backstory and how you got here.
Yeah. Well, I started in my business in 2011 with my husband because he was a graphic designer and he was just freelancing. And I thought, well, let me just build a business around you. Like, let me just find the clients and you do the design work that you're so great at. That's how I got into business. I mean, really no plan, just wanted to pay our bills and work for ourselves. And over the first few years, I, encountered a lot of other small branding and agencies like us. And I kind of copied what they did. I read E-Myth. It told me, you don't have employees, you are the employee. That made me feel really bad about myself. I hired 2 employees. I got an office that I'm in right now. And it's because I thought that that's what I needed to do to be a legitimate business. And I needed to scale, right? I needed to have I needed people to respect me so they would pay me higher prices so that I could make more money, so I could eventually, hopefully have some freedom in my life. And what I found instead was that it just created a lot more headache. I didn't make more money. I worked the same or more, but I took home less money. And 3 years into our business, we ended up in $40,000 of debt. Totally maxed out, no cash in the bank. And we were forced to figure something out. I thought we were going to have to close our business down, but instead, luckily, my husband, not as fear-based, he said, hey, we've got plenty of skills. Like, we will be fine. We just have to think of another way to do this. And what we ended up doing was going all in on this little offer that we had secretly been selling people who couldn't afford our services, which was a $3,000 one-day intensive. And we started telling everybody that that's what we were selling. And it was like the whole world turned, like the tides turned. We were chasing everybody for these $30,000 projects. All of a sudden we could do, a whole project in 1 or 2 days for $3,000 or $5,000. And we were booked solid. And we made $500,000, just the 2 of us, in the following 12 months. So that was obviously the light bulb moment. And over the years, we have tweaked that process. And that's how I got to today. Scaling Solo is really the book. And it's about a model, the No BS business model, how to scale up without necessarily hiring a team or increasing your overhead by really doubling down on your value and all of the skills that you've built.
So good. And so I'm so curious with the people who come to you and the clients that you work with. I bet some of them either are pre-hiring and pre-doing some of that stuff. And they're like, oh, there is another way. Yes. But I bet you also probably get some people who tried the other path and decided that they actually want to approach it in a more simple way that feels more aligned for them. What are some of the patterns and some of the things that you see where somebody could say, you know what, that sounds better for the way I like to work?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And I also get people who have employees and they're still interested in my model. And I have to kind of coach them out of their employees, because when we look at the numbers, I say, you're not profitable enough and your systems aren't streamlined enough to support this. And actually, those are some of the most exciting people, because they're making a lot of revenue. They're just not taking anything home. And when I show them the numbers and I say, look, you could literally like let go of your team and make half the sales, and you would be taking home more than you're looking to take home now. So, once I illuminate them to the numbers, they get really excited because it feels so much simpler.
So what you just said there,
yes.
Here's something that I absolutely love about that, because I do a similar exercise with people in the beginning of working with them, is really anchoring them more on profit and take home. Yes. And yes, you have this revenue target for the business, but what's the revenue target or the income target for you? Like, what does that look like? In that conversation, it sometimes surprises me just how eye-opening it is for people, because I think there is this overemphasis on top line revenue, even though we all know that we should be looking at profit, not revenue. Doesn't matter how many times people say it. I think it's just this like deep-seated, like, I must be growing the amount of revenue this business brings in or I'm not successful.
I think
people see that?
100%. And I think people take a lot of pride in their revenue number. But I remember when I was in the EO Accelerator program, I was around a lot of $1 million businesses in the EO program, and I was taking home more than they were. And so I remember noticing that and saying, well, I don't need $1 million business if I'm going to be taking home less than I'm taking home now and working just as much or more. But to your point, Krista, I absolutely love that. It's actually one of the first things I do in the model is say, figure out how much you need to live. Figure out how much your business costs. Figure out how much you'd like to be investing in your business. And we put it into this formula and it adds the taxes on. And now we know what revenue you need to go for. And what's interesting is that that revenue number is often wildly different than what the person thinks. Because when I ask somebody, how much do you want to make, right? They usually say something like, I want to make $100,000. I want to make $200,000. And then I go, is that before taxes or after taxes? Is that including business expenses or not? And they usually don't have an answer for that. And I say, well, it's a wildly different number if that's not going to include your taxes and your business expenses. It's going to be 100,000 plus more if that is just take home. So we need to know these numbers. And I think, to your point, most people don't look at them this closely.
Yeah, they don't. I'm so happy you do that with your clients, because I think that's so important. And I do think that is such a good catalyst to be thinking about, do I genuinely want a team, and will it actually help me amplify what I want to do? And so how can someone know if a team is right for them or not? Because everyone has kind of different DNA and the way that they like to run their business. And for some businesses, it is actually the right move. But how does somebody kind of know that it's not the right move for them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the people that usually are attracted to me truly do enjoy the work itself. They pride themselves on their skills. They didn't get into business to build a business. They went into business because they are really skilled at what they have to offer. And they were probably working at a big company or an agency, and they were doing very high level work, and they were seeing what the clients were paying and then what they were taking home. And they said, hey, I only need one client like that. I would be making 3 times as much. So they do the quick math and think that it's worth it to go out on their own. Of course, you and I know that it's not so simple. And also those clients aren't going to necessarily hire that person when they're a solo business. We have to be strategic about who you go after when you are a solo business. But I do find that I do find that is the case.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's break down some of what you see as being the success factors that really play a big part in being able to scale solo and be really successful and fulfilled in what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is you have to be great at what you do, right? I mean, if we are scaling solo based on a skill that we have or a service that we are offering, then we need to be skilled at that service. So I am not usually helping people where I think I want to become a graphic designer, and we're starting by learning how to do graphic design. No, we've already been doing this for a long time. We're very skilled. The second thing we need to do is we need to look at the numbers and figure out where do my packages need to be priced? How do I need to price my services so it supports this business? And what I take them through, that I was mentioning earlier, is let's figure out what that revenue number is. I like to do it on a good, better, best. So what's, going to cover my expenses, and then what am I going for? And then what's the ultimate goal? And then I use something I call the 50-25-25 rule to profit and freedom, which states you must make that entire revenue in 50% of your time or less working with clients. And what this does is it allows you to have the other 50% of your time, and I'm talking like 48 weeks a year, 40 hours a week. I'm actually including a bonus month, and I'm not talking nights and weekends. You have that other 50% of your time available to actually do business development, build your business, build your systems, build your skills. And then the other 25% is flex time. So that's the time where you can enjoy your life, take vacation, or reinvest that into your business. And once we have this very clear framework and formula, we can start to look at, okay, what do you have to offer, and where does the price point need to be in order to support those goals? And I'm a math person. Like, I love just looking at the numbers and saying, hey, what you're offering right now just doesn't support it. I can see from the numbers why you are working all the time and bringing money in, but aren't taking any home. It's clear as day. So I think one of the most important things is understanding where your price points and packages and offers need to be in order to support that goal. And then, of course, once we know how much you need to be charging, then we have to put a plan in place to get there. Because often we will find, okay, my main package needs to be $20,000 and I'm currently charging $10,000. Well, what are we going to do to close that gap? In my experience, just knowing, okay, we need to get this to $20,000 and we need to get the delivery time down to X number of hours is so much clearer than most service businesses are thinking, because most service businesses think about their time as free, which is crazy. I know we think that's crazy. Your time is the most valuable asset that you have, and it is a non-renewable resource. So we need to be very protective of it. So that's kind of how we formulate it. And it gives us the ability to reach for that goal. So how can we tweak our process, systematize things to decrease the delivery? How can we tweak what we're offering or how we position it? Or maybe we need to do some more speaking engagements or authority building activities, or maybe we just need to be widening our net and networking to build our referral network so we have more demand coming in. So there are two levers we can pull: increase the real and perceived value of what we're offering and decreasing the delivery time. And then it's just, let's just pull those two levers until we get to the profitability that we need to support the life that we have.
Okay, you are speaking my language. I love this. Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to say something. All of you don't want to throttle me when I say this out loud, but scaling your business isn't that complex. It's really pretty simple. We make it really complex. Like, there's just a few core things that need to be in place, and Pia just outlined them beautifully. And everything on top of that is the complexity that we add in. And it's really not that complex to scale a profitable business, whether you're scaling solo or otherwise, when you stick to the basics and you're really clear on the two key things that you just said: time and money. Like, money coming in, money going out, and time that you have and that you're investing.
But don't we love to overcomplicate it? Because as entrepreneurs, we have ideas and we're creative and we want to try new things. And, I've heard a lot of people say, like, successful businesses are boring businesses. You do a lot of the same thing over and over again. And how many clients have I had say to me, well, I don't want to just work with that kind of client over and over again. I love working all over the place in different projects. And I tell them, there's nothing boring about a super profitable business that gives you a lot of time freedom. But not just that, I think you're thinking about it in the wrong way. We for 10 plus years, we have been repeating the same process with clients over and over again, but every client is different, right? It's just, we're keeping it within a framework, within a process that we can do in our sleep, but the work is very custom and it's very specific to the client. And it's always going to be a new creative challenge for us. Even if we're pulling from our experience from previous clients, that doesn't mean we're not replicating each project. We're just replicating the process that we go through. So I encourage people to actually look for the opportunities to repeat and get the reps in and to tweak and tweak. I call it like Mr. Miyagi it, we want to just keep getting better and better to hit those levels of excellence, because that's where you're really rising above everybody else. And let's be honest, we need that more than ever in today's market when there is more competition and so much of the bottom is falling out with AI. You have to be that much more skilled.
Absolutely. And something I always say, because oh gosh, there's so much in there, but yes, the boring business, that is always the most profitable and the most stable, the one that's least disrupted, I feel like, by the stuff that's happening in the market and in the outside world, because it's not based on trends and hacks. It's based on a really solid foundation. And then the other piece of it is, if you think about, I always look at like, what is that thing that other people are unwilling to do that you can do that helps you differentiate? Most other people are unwilling to run a boring business. Most other people are always going to chase the bright, shiny. They aren't going to take the time to develop the true mastery, to do the Mr. Miyagi of it, right? Like they're not going to. And so by doing that, to your point with AI and so much like the bottom falling out, like how can you rise to the top? Sometimes rising to the top is just doing the reps of the same thing over and over and over again. I feel like because so few people are willing to do it. And when you do, I feel like it gives you such an incredible advantage over so many others who aren't.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great point. And, I actually have been talking about that a lot when it comes to content creation and authority building, because back in the day, like a few years ago, you had to really do it all yourself. And so because you had to do it all yourself, most people didn't do it. So you could really get far just by doing it. And now that everyone can do it with a couple clicks of the button, it's not very good, but everyone can do it. The bar has been raised significantly. So it was exciting for a second that you could press a button, but all of a sudden it completely like flatlined the opportunity. And so I love that you said that. I think about that. Like we need to lean into the hard stuff, because those are the things that will always differentiate us, because to your point, not many people are willing to do it.
All right. So I feel like you just covered a slew of mistakes in trying to scale solo, but are there any other that jump out at you that you find are pretty common?
Yes. I mean, I will call it a mistake, but it's leading into a process that I recommend. I think it's a mistake when you are selling high-level expert services. I think it is a mistake to write free proposals. And I'll tell you why. Free proposals, we all learned it, that's how everyone does it. But I find that it just sets the relationship up on the wrong foot from the very beginning. It creates this power dynamic where you're working for free for somebody, you're pitching them, you're hoping that they will see your brilliance and choose you. And they're probably collecting proposals from a lot of different people. There's a number of reasons why I think this doesn't really set you up for success. But it also means that you are writing a proposal for somebody or pitching them based on what they told you they needed. Now, if you are in a high-level expert service business, you know a lot more about what your clients need than they do. Often, you need to get to know their situation a lot more in more depth to be able to recommend what they need. And you simply cannot do that effectively for free, not just because you probably aren't going to take enough time to really interview them and dig deep, but because they may not be so forthcoming with all of the answers when they are doing it for free because you are pitching them. The second you sell them this first step, and it doesn't have to be a ton of money, I actually think it should be a no-brainer price, but the second they pay you, the relationship completely changes. You're telling them my advice and time are valuable. And then they open up all of a sudden. They want to tell you everything because they just paid you to give them advice. So now you're in a seat of authority. You're an advisor. You interview them. You write them a brief that basically tells them, here's the plan of this is where you are, this is where you want to go, and here's what you should do to get there. And when you lay it out with such clarity, I find that clients will be so much quicker to say yes to a much higher investment because they have built this trust with you, they've had this paid experience with you, and you have illuminated what they actually need to do. You become the only person who can actually solve this problem. So I guess we could call it a mistake. It's just like a missed opportunity to not sell that first step.
All right. And so for all of you listening, when you hear me talk about the 4 types of offers, what Pia just did is the gateway offer. Oh. That is the thing that is critical and that is working so incredibly well right now compared to prior years when most people are not going into, I'm finding, the big ticket purchases in the way that they did before. And so I always recommend people start with a gateway offer where someone can experience what it's like to work with you. That you just outlined is beautiful. So take us deeper into your process and what you recommend.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I call it the lead product method. And Perfect. Even when I'm trying to hire someone, if they don't have a lead product, I make one for them. I'm like, can I pay you this much? And can you give me advice? Because I want to see what your plan is before I hire you this big ticket. So essentially it is this. When you are very clear on who your ideal client is, then the first step is a fit call. Now, I like to call it a fit call as opposed to a discovery call or a consultation, because I feel like the fit call kind of sets it up. Hey, we're both here to see if you're a fit for me and I'm a fit for you. As much as it sets it up as a sales conversation, it also kind of takes the steam out of the sales conversation. We know why we're here. And when you are really clear on who your ideal client is, you will ask pointed questions to try to figure out, is this really someone I can help or not? That's a key to doing this well, because we want to be ready to say no to somebody who isn't an ideal fit. So you have to be genuinely trying to figure out if they're a good fit. But if they are, then the transition is really, okay, great. So it sounds like, this is who you are and this is what you need. Is that right? Yes. Great. You're exactly who I help. The next step is my lead product. Mine is called the brand shrink. And then I tell them, it's basically a deep dive interview where I get to know everything about your business, where you've been, where you are, where you want to go. And then I will write you up a brief that shows you all of your most badass opportunities and how you're going to get there. And it's this price. And if you move forward and we actually end up delivering on this and actually building out your whole brand, we apply the price. This is very important. We apply the price to the final engagement, the old foot in the door technique. So they say yes. It's so much easier for people to say yes to that for some reason, because it's a product. It makes it feel simple. It's a trusted process. I feel like that makes people feel safe as well. And I have found that I will scoop people up with that offer who were collecting proposals. So I just cut the line with all the people who are currently writing this person a proposal because they're so happy to, oh, great, I would love to pay you and get some solutions right now. So then we do a deep dive interview. It's usually about 90 minutes to 2 hours. I want to hear everything about the business, not just what brands do you like and what colors do you want. I really want to understand the full picture. And then afterwards, write down a brief. I have a very specific method that I use to write the brief to get them really excited about the potential and also for them to envision what's possible for them. And then at the very end, and we can take care of this. And, you just read this and you're nodding along and you're getting goosebumps and you're so excited. We can take care of it for you in a 2-day intensive for $40,000. And I find that the relief of, I loved everything. You can just take care of it for me. I find that they are much more excited and willing to pay prices that probably in that first call, if you had said, what's your budget? They probably would have said, $10,000 or $20,000 if if that even, because they have a completely different perspective on what you have to offer, and whether they trust you. And the other thing that's really valuable about this whole process is that you uncover what they actually need. So I've had many clients come and say, I need X, Y, and Z. And then we go through the LP and I'm like, you don't need Z, but you do need A, B, and C. And let me tell you why. And they're so thankful because everyone else is writing them a proposal for X, Y, and Z, but they didn't actually need that. And now they trust me even more. So that's high level lead product process.
All right. I just want to put like flashing stars all around that to say brilliant. I absolutely love that so much. And something that's really interesting that you shared in your opening story and you just kind of anchored back on that I think to me must have such a big impact on people saying yes is the shortened time frame, like that intense quick turnaround delivery. Because if you had said to me 20 grand and I'll get it to you in 6 weeks, in my head, I'm like 6 weeks, it'll be done in 12, right? And if you say to me it's going to be done in 2 days, I'd be thinking, if they're confident enough to commit to me in 2 days, I might actually have this done this week. Mm-hmm. So how does that work? What's the kind of thought process behind that intensive style?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is like a core piece of my No BS Mastery model. So instead of working with many clients at once, which is what we used to do, so we would get a $30,000 client, I'd purposefully make the timeline stretch over 6 months to justify the price, really. And then we would have multiple clients going. We work on each client a little bit each week and, show them stuff. And now we're waiting for feedback and everything would kind of just go along step by step, often derailed, to your point. 6 weeks turns into 12 because things that are stretched over time just get derailed. Like life happens, the world happens, business happens. So what we did instead was we took the exact same project. We're doing the same level of work. We are just condensing it by working with only one client at a time. So instead of working concurrently with a bunch of clients, we just work consecutively. So what I would do is, so when we do a $40,000 2-day intensive, we're not doing the project on the 2 days. We're doing the project beforehand. So, Steve and I know that we can do the pre-work. We basically take the project to the end, like we will finish it. And that we know how long that takes us. It takes us a few days of both of us working. And then the 2-day intensive, we have a very specific process that we take the client through to onboard them, kind of get their okay on everything, tweak things here and there, and launch it at 6 p.m. on day 2. So we know it's ready to go and we are very confident in it. And the 2 days is really just to kind of get the client adjusted and excited and on board, but they love it. They love it because even though I make them available for the full 2 days, they know that that's it. And I tell them, even if they have to wait for their slot, because since it's concurrently, I book them into the next slot. So that next slot might be in a month or two. I tell them, but you will have everything done and launched on day 2. And nobody is going to get that done for you. Even if you start now, they will still not get it done. And they definitely can't guarantee it by the date I will get it done. So how about this? We book you in for 2 months from now. You know it's going to happen and you don't have to even think about this until then because I will take care of it for you. So I think the underlying philosophy is just a lot of, maybe it's just because I'm naturally very controlling. It's like, I got this, I will take care of, I want to take this off your plate. You are a busy business owner. Please go deal with your stuff. Don't worry about going back and forth with me for 6 months. Let me take care of this and do what I do best. And let me make you the most badass brand possible for you. And understand that you're hiring me to do that. You're not hiring me to be the hands and, you are over my shoulder, trying to tell me how to design. You're hiring me to show you what this brand needs to be. And I'm confident in that. And that's a lot of how you're able to do a really effective intensive is that you know what you're doing and you have confidence in it.
Yeah, I'd pretty much just be like, where can I sign?
Feels good, right?
It does. All right. So tell everyone more about the book. Tell them about what you have coming up, where they can find everything. Just tell us all the things.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I think that the book launched today if you're launching it. So thank you so much. So the book is called Scale Solo for experts who want to charge more, deliver faster, and cut the BS. And I am so excited about this book because I have been living this model and teaching this model for 12 years. And this was really, I've been wanting to write this book for years, Krista, and it finally became time. And I became much like I do everything. I became completely immersed in writing this. I wrote it actually pretty quickly because it just poured out of me. And I detail every piece of this business model and show you all the different ways that you can. And you know what? You don't even have to implement the whole thing to have for it to have a dramatic effect. I'm showing you all the different pieces, and you could even just implement the lead product process, and it will help you sell bigger projects at higher prices. You could just implement, the intensive. You could just intensify your work a little bit, and it will have a profound effect on how profitable your offers are. So I think of it as, obviously, I think the whole method is important, the whole model is important, but you could even just take pieces of it, and I think it will greatly increase the amount of freedom and ease you have in your business.
Fantastic. And where can people get their hands on the book? Yeah. Where can they find you?
Well, it should be everywhere. Go to scalesolobook.com and you'll get all the information. And then if you want to follow me, I'm teaching and talking about this stuff all day long on Instagram at Pia Loves Your Biz, B-I-Z, because I truly do. I love people's businesses. I get so jazzed about them. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, Pia Silva.
Fantastic. And you will find, of course, all those links in the show notes. All right, Pia, I ask everyone this question, and I'm so curious what you're going to say. So how do you scale smarter and keep things lean in your business?
Okay. Besides intensives and the lead product, I think you work on building your own confidence and your skills. I think that is a key ingredient. And if you're willing to do that over and over again and, follow certain models, you will be successful at scaling.
Fantastic. All right. I highly, highly, highly encourage you all to go get the book. You can tell Pia is the real deal. She knows this stuff inside and out. And I love your philosophy so much because they fit so beautifully with what I teach. And yet I'm typically scaling large scale, you're scaling solo, but it's the same underlying principles that apply.
Yes.
And I love that so much. So any final tips, any final takeaways before we wrap this up?
Oh my gosh, I'm just rooting for you. I think the world is powered by small business owners. And I think there is a real opportunity for solo business owners specifically. When we have an abundance of time and money, we reinvest that time and money into our families, other small businesses, our communities. I think that's really important. That's how I'm trying to make a mark on the world. And I just want people who are listening, who are my kind of people, know that you are contributing to a small business economy that is very important.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope you all got as much value out of this conversation as I did. I can't wait to see you again next week. If you are a visionary founder ready to get yourself out of the day-to-day operations of your business and scale in a much more simple, sustainable way, I have just the thing. Register to join me for my Scale Simpler workshop at scalesimpler.com. In it, I break down the hidden barriers that keep you trapped in the day-to-day of your business and what to do to finally extract yourself once and for all so things do not keep coming back onto your plate. And if you're someone who partners with founders as their right-hand advisor, consultant, or fractional, I invite you to explore our scaling certification and licensing programs at strategicopsinstitute.com.